Have you ever wondered why men and women seem to live in different worlds? Why men struggle to listen when women are talking? Or why women sometimes feel men just don't get it? This book, Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps by Allan and Barbara Pease, takes us on a fascinating journey to uncover the truth behind these differences. From the very beginning, the authors paint a vivid picture. Men and women are not better or worse than each other, just different. These differences are not simply about culture or upbringing, but are deeply rooted in biology, brain wiring, and centuries of evolution. By ignoring these truths, many relationships fall into conflict, misunderstanding, and even heartbreak. In this book, you're going to discover why men and women process the world around them so differently, how brain science explains communication gaps, why men often miss the details women easily notice, how understanding these differences can transform marriages, friendships, and workplaces. This introduction makes it clear that the goal of the book isn't to divide us, but to help us appreciate each other better. When we stop expecting the opposite sex to think and act like us, we open the door to stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships. So if you've ever asked yourself, why don't they understand me? Then you're in the right place. Stay tuned as we break down this book chapter by chapter and pull out life-changing lessons. And before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and drop a comment about one thing you wish you understood better about the opposite sex. Chapter 1 Summary. Same species, different worlds. Why is it that men and women can live under the same roof, share the same love, yet feel like they are from different planets? Have you noticed how men and women argue over the smallest things, from toilet seats to asking for directions? This chapter shows us that these differences are not random, but deeply rooted in who we are. The authors begin by establishing a truth many people avoid admitting. Men and women are different, not better or worse, simply different. These differences show up in daily life in ways that can frustrate both sides. For example, men often use the toilet for a single purpose, while women see it as a social space. Men dominate the TV remote, while women don't mind watching the commercials. Women may crave chocolate under stress, while men reach for alcohol or aggression. Each gender criticizes the other for opposite reasons. Women complain that men don't listen, aren't romantic enough, and leave the toilet seat up. Men complain that women talk too much, get lost reading maps, and turn the seat down. These playful examples set the stage for a serious point. Men and women process life differently. The reason? Evolution shaped men as hunters and protectors, and women as nurturers and gatherers. Men develop physical strength and spatial awareness, while women develop strong communication and social bonding skills. These ancient roles still influence how our brains work today. The chapter addresses the stereotype debate. For years, people argued that differences between genders are just products of upbringing. But modern science shows otherwise. Hormones and brain wiring are powerful shapers of behavior. Even if a boy and girl were raised on a deserted island, boys would still compete and form hierarchies, while girls would bond and nurture. The authors also emphasize that difference is not inequality. Men and women should have equal opportunities, but pretending we are identical only creates frustration. The goal of understanding is not to box people into rigid roles, but to appreciate how God designed us uniquely. Finally, the chapter reminds us that our ancestors had clear roles, the hunter and the nest defender. But today those roles are blurred. That confusion has led to higher divorce rates and relationship breakdowns. To move forward, we must accept that men and women see the world differently and learn new ways to live in harmony. Key points. Men and women are different by design, not accident. Biology and brain wiring play a huge role in shaping behavior. Confusion comes when we expect the opposite sex to think like us. Appreciating differences is the key to harmony. Bible verses. Male and female, he created them and he blessed them. Genesis 1:27-28. Love your wives, and wives, respect your husbands. Ephesians 5:33. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Psalm 133:1. Practical application. Stop expecting your spouse or friend to act like you. Celebrate their differences. Learn to listen more and argue less by remembering that perspective is shaped by design. Use humor instead of anger when differences show up, like toilet seats or directions. Call to action. If this chapter has opened your eyes to why men and women clash so often, take a moment today to appreciate someone of the opposite sex for who they are. And don't forget, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, like this video, and drop a comment about one difference between men and women that always makes you laugh or wonder. Chapter 2 Summary, Making Perfect Sense. Have you ever noticed how a woman can pick up on someone's mood without a single word being spoken, while a man might miss all the hints until there are tears or anger? Or how men can spot a road sign miles away, but can't seem to find the butter in the fridge? This chapter reveals the science behind those moments and why they make perfect sense. The authors explain that women are equipped like radar detectors. As natural nest defenders, women evolved to sense tiny changes in mood, body language, and tone of voice. What we call women's intuition is actually a finely tuned ability to notice details men usually overlook. Men, on the other hand, develop tunnel vision to focus on distant targets for hunting. This explains why a man can zero in on something far away but struggles to see what's right under his nose. Eye design also plays a role. Women's eyes have a wider peripheral vision, almost like a built-in wide-angle lens, while men's eyes are like binoculars for long-distance focus. That's why women often catch subtle social cues in a room, while men are scanning for exits, enemies, or practical details. In modern life, this is why women usually notice everything at a party, while men wonder what they missed. The chapter dives into hearing as well. Women's brains are wired to pick up high-pitched sounds and emotional changes in voices. They can even listen to two conversations at once. Men, however, are better at pinpointing where a sound is coming from, an ability tied back to tracking prey. This explains why women are more sensitive to a dripping tap or a crying baby, while men can sleep right through it. Touch and sensitivity add another layer. Women's skin is about 10 times more sensitive than men's, making touch and affection deeply important for emotional connection. Men, designed for rough hunting and fighting, grew thicker skin and less sensitivity. That's why women often crave hugs and closeness, while men may underestimate its importance. The chapter even covers taste and smell. Women are more likely to detect sweetness and subtle scents, skills once crucial for gathering ripe fruits and detecting danger. Men, meanwhile, are more tuned to salt and bitterness, which explains why beer is often their drink of choice. Altogether, these sensory differences reveal why men and women don't just see the world differently, they experience it differently. By understanding this, couples can stop accusing each other of being careless or insensitive and instead realize they are wired in complementary ways. Key points. Women have wider peripheral vision, men have long-distance tunnel vision. Women hear emotional tones, men hear direction. Women's skin is far more sensitive to touch. Women detect sweetness and smell better. Men handle salt and bitterness. Bible verses. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Psalm 139, verse 13. Husbands, in the same way be considerate as you live with your wives. 1 Peter 3:7. Two are better than one, for if they fall, one will lift up his companion. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9 to 10. Practical application. Appreciate sensory differences instead of mocking them. Husbands, be intentional with physical affection. It speaks deeply to your wife. Wives, recognize that men may miss details, not out of neglect, but wiring. Use these insights to reduce conflict over small misunderstandings. Call to action. Think about this. What's one everyday funny difference you've noticed between men and women? Share it in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this journey, remember to subscribe, like this video, and keep building your faith with us on Faith Builder channel. Chapter 3, All in the Mind. Why is it that men seem to focus on one thing at a time, while women can juggle multiple conversations, chores, and emotions all at once? Have you ever been frustrated that your husband can't hear you when he's watching TV, or your wife wants to discuss 5 things at the same time? This chapter explains that it all comes down to how our brains are wired, and the differences are astonishing. The authors explain that while men and women are of the same species, their brains have evolved in strikingly different ways. Men's brains are structured for specialization. They can concentrate deeply on one task, but often struggle with multitasking. Women's brains, however, are better connected across the 2 hemispheres, enabling them to switch between tasks, conversations, and emotions with ease. One striking illustration is the toothbrush test. Ask a man to brush his teeth and walk around at the same time, and he often struggles. A woman can do it with little thought. This highlights the male focus versus female flexibility in brain wiring. Research shows that men and women use their brains differently when solving problems. Men tend to use one side at a time, while women engage both hemispheres simultaneously. This is why women often excel at reading emotions, building relationships, and multitasking, while men are strong at spatial skills, strategy, and focusing on a single target. The chapter also dives into the role of hormones during pregnancy. Even in the womb, a baby's brain begins developing differently based on hormonal exposure. Boys are bathed in testosterone, shaping more aggressive, competitive, and single-focused traits. Girls with higher estrogen are wired for bonding, nurturing, and communication. This means many of our tendencies are set before birth, not just learned behaviors. The authors emphasize that these differences don't make one sex smarter than the other. In fact, both brains are brilliant, but in different ways. Men might dominate fields like engineering or navigation, while women excel in communication, empathy, and multitasking roles. Both skill sets are needed for society and relationships to thrive. Finally, the authors encourage readers to stop expecting the opposite sex to think like them. Instead, learn to value these differences. A husband's ability to focus intently can bring stability, while a wife's ability to juggle many things can keep family life balanced. When these strengths are combined, harmony is possible. Key points. Men's brains are wired for focus, women's for multitasking. Brain wiring differences begin in the womb, influenced by hormones. Neither sex is smarter, they simply excel in different areas. Harmony comes when we value complementarity instead of comparison. Bible verses. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. But now God has set the members, each one of them, in the body just as he pleased. 1 Corinthians 12:18. The wisdom from above is peace-loving, considerate. James 3, practical application. Husbands, respect your wife's ability to juggle multiple things without assuming she's scatterbrained. Wives, give your husband space to focus on one task instead of expecting instant responses. Parents, recognize that boys and girls may learn differently, and that's okay. In the workplace, assign roles based on strengths instead of forcing everyone into one mold. Call to action. Take a moment today to thank God for the way He uniquely designed your brain and the brain of your spouse, child, or friend. Celebrate the differences instead of fighting them. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and share in the comments one strength you admire in the opposite sex's way of thinking. Chapter 4 Summary: Talking and Listening. Why does it sometimes feel like men and women are speaking different languages? Have you ever tried to share your heart only to feel ignored, or tried to give a simple solution only to be accused of not listening? This chapter reveals why men and women struggle with talking and listening, and how understanding the differences can change everything. The authors explain that women are natural talkers. Brain scans show that women use both hemispheres of the brain when they speak, making them skilled at connecting words with emotions. This is why women often talk to bond, to process feelings, and to relieve stress. For them, talking is a way of thinking aloud. Men, however, use only one side of the brain for speech. This makes them more direct, concise, and task-focused when they talk. They often prefer silent reflection and may feel drained by long emotional conversations. This difference creates tension. A woman may pour out her feelings, but the man hears it as nagging. A man may sit silently, but the woman interprets it as withdrawal or disinterest. Neither is wrong. They are simply wired differently. Men also tend to talk internally, working through solutions in their heads, while women prefer to voice thoughts out loud. This is why men may appear unresponsive, while women seem to overtalk. Women often shift between multiple conversation tracks at once, but men usually prefer one subject at a time. Listening is another battlefield. Women often listen with empathy, giving affirming responses like or nodding, which shows engagement. Men, however, may listen silently, like statues. To a woman, this looks like disinterest. To a man, it means he's concentrating. Men also struggle to pick up emotional tones in voice, which explains why women often say, "Don't use that tone with me." And men respond, "What tone?" Practical strategies emerge in this chapter. Women are encouraged to use shorter, clearer statements when talking with men, and men are encouraged to give small verbal signals, "I see," to show they're listening. The authors note that when both sides adapt, communication becomes less of a battle and more of a bridge. Ultimately, the chapter reminds us that talking is not just about words, it's about connection. Understanding how the opposite sex communicates can save relationships from unnecessary arguments and help couples feel truly heard and valued. Key points: women talk to connect, men talk to deliver facts or solutions. Men are silent thinkers, women are verbal processors. Women multi-track in conversations, men prefer one topic at a time. Listening styles differ. Women show empathy, men show silence. Small adjustments can prevent big conflicts. Bible verses: let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. James 1:19. The tongue has the power of life and death. Proverbs 18:21. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Proverbs 15:1. Practical application: husbands, give verbal cues when listening. It reassures your wife you're engaged. Wives, keep conversations clear and concise when discussing key points. Both, don't assume silence means disinterest or nagging means hostility. It's wiring. Practice active listening. Repeat back what you heard to show understanding. Call to action. This week, challenge yourself to listen more intentionally to your spouse, friend, or coworker. One small change in how you respond could transform your relationship. And if this chapter blessed you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and comment below. Do you talk more like a processor or a silent thinker? Chapter 5 Summary: Spatial Ability. Why is it that a man can drive for hours without asking for directions, while a woman will stop and ask within minutes? Why do men seem to parallel park with ease, but women can find it stressful, yet women are less likely to get into accidents? This chapter uncovers the fascinating truth about spatial ability and how it shapes everyday life. The authors begin with a humorous but familiar scenario: a couple arguing in the car because the man refuses to admit he's lost, or the woman turning the map upside down to make sense of it. These aren't random quirks. They are reflections of how the male and female brains evolved. Men, as ancient hunters, needed strong spatial awareness to track prey, aim weapons, and navigate long distances. Their brains developed to handle three-dimensional tasks: targeting, estimating distances, and orienting themselves in wide spaces. Women, as gatherers and nest defenders, focused on short-range navigation, remembering landmarks, and organizing immediate surroundings. That's why a woman can find missing keys in seconds, but may struggle with reversing into a tight parking space. Studies confirm these differences. Boys often excel in video games or tasks requiring spatial rotation, while girls perform better in memory-based navigation. Even in modern driving, men may brag about their sense of direction, but women statistically have fewer accidents. Men can park more neatly, but women are safer overall. The chapter also highlights how these skills influence careers. Men are drawn to fields like engineering, physics, and computing, areas heavy in spatial reasoning. Women often thrive in people-centered or detail-oriented roles, But both sexes can improve their weaknesses with practice. Women can enhance spatial ability through strategy training, while men can sharpen memory and attention to detail. Importantly, the authors warn against using these differences to belittle one another. Laughing at a woman's parking or mocking a man's inability to find household items only deepens division. Instead, couples should embrace the strengths of each design. Let the man handle long-distance night driving, and let the woman lead when it comes to remembering details or organizing spaces. The bottom line? Neither sex is better. We're just wired for different abilities that complement each other. When understood, these differences can save countless arguments, especially on road trips. Key points. Men excel in long-distance spatial tasks. Women excel in detail and memory. Men are better at parallel parking. Women are safer drivers overall. Spatial ability differences show up in careers and daily life. These traits are not limitations. Both can be improved with practice. Bible verses. 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. The wisdom of the prudent is to give thought to their ways. Proverbs 14 verse 8. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Philippians 2:4, practical application. On trips, assign driving roles. Men often handle night driving, women manage navigation details. Instead of criticizing weaknesses, use them as opportunities to balance each other. Practice empathy in moments of frustration. Remember, it's not stubbornness, but brain wiring. Parents, encourage children in both skills. Let boys build empathy and girls practice spatial reasoning. Call to action. Think about this. What's the funniest argument you've ever had about directions or parking? Share it in the comments. And if you're learning from this series, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep following Faith Builder channel as we uncover more wisdom from this book. Chapter 6 Summary. Thoughts, attitudes, emotions, and other disaster areas. Why do men sometimes shut down when women cry? Why do women feel men don't care about emotions while men feel overwhelmed by them? Have you ever wondered why women love to talk things through, but men quickly offer solutions? This chapter unpacks the emotional and mental worlds of men and women and why they often collide. The authors begin by highlighting one major difference. Boys like things, girls like people. From childhood, boys are drawn to objects, games, and competition. Girls, on the other hand, prefer relationships, cooperation, and conversations. This foundation shapes adulthood. Men often measure success by achievements and work, while women measure it by relationships and connection. When stress hits, these differences become even clearer. Women under stress often want to talk, share, and process feelings. For them, talking reduces pressure and builds connection. Men, however, retreat into silence. They shut down, avoid discussing emotions, and may distract themselves with TV, sports, or hanging out with friends. What looks like avoidance is actually their way of coping. This mismatch causes conflict. A stressed woman feels abandoned when her man won't talk. A stressed man feels nagged when his partner insists on discussing feelings. Neither side is wrong. They simply have opposite strategies. Men also tend to hide emotions because of their competitive nature. Admitting weakness or vulnerability feels risky. Women, however, value openness and sharing emotions. This explains why women may cry to release feelings, while men resist tears to avoid appearing weak. The chapter also covers everyday emotional clashes. Shopping is often a joy for women, an emotional experience tied to beauty and bonding. For men, it feels like torture because they approach it with a get in, get out mindset. Compliments, too, differ. Women crave sincere affirmations about their appearance and worth, while men often prefer recognition for achievements or actions. Ultimately, the authors stress that men and women must learn to bridge these emotional gaps. Men need to realize that listening without offering solutions is sometimes the greatest gift they can give. Women need to understand that silence doesn't always mean rejection. It can mean processing. By honoring each other's emotional languages, relationships can thrive instead of collapse under misunderstanding. Key points. Men value work and achievements. Women value relationships and connection. Stress responses differ. Women talk, men retreat. Men often hide emotions, women release them. Everyday clashes, shopping, compliments, crying, reflect deeper differences. Emotional harmony requires patience, listening, and empathy. Bible verses. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Romans 12:15. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6:2. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Ephesians 4:2. Practical application. Husbands, when your wife is upset, don't rush to fix the problem. Just listen. Wives, when your husband withdraws, give him time to process instead of forcing immediate conversation. Both, use compliments generously and sincerely. They build bridges. Choose empathy over judgment. Remember, your partner's coping style is not an attack but wiring. Call to action. Think about your last conflict. Was it caused by clashing emotional styles? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with Faith Builder channel as we continue unpacking the wisdom in why men don't listen and women can't read maps. Chapter 7 Summary: Our Chemical Cocktail. Why does a woman sometimes feel like a completely different person during certain times of the month? Why do men's moods shift when they're under pressure, hungry, or aging? Have you ever noticed how quickly a peaceful home can turn tense just because of hormones? This chapter reveals the unseen forces at work, our body's chemical cocktail. The authors explain that men and women are heavily influenced by hormones, and these chemicals shape not only our bodies but also our behavior, moods, and attitudes. For men, the primary hormone is testosterone, which fuels competitiveness, aggression, and sexual drive. Testosterone levels are highest in the morning and decline as the day goes on. This explains why men may wake up with energy and drive but become quieter or irritable at night. Women, on the other hand, are governed by estrogen and progesterone, which fluctuate through the monthly cycle. These hormones affect everything from mood swings and energy levels to appetite and emotional sensitivity. During ovulation, estrogen peaks, often boosting energy and confidence. Before menstruation, progesterone takes over, sometimes leading to fatigue, irritability, or cravings. The chapter highlights how these cycles can cause misunderstandings in relationships. A man may think his partner is overreacting, when in reality, her hormone levels are driving her emotions. Similarly, men going through midlife changes may experience lower testosterone, leading to moodiness, reduced energy, or even depression, something often overlooked. Hormones also impact attraction and bonding. For instance, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, floods women during childbirth, breastfeeding, or even affectionate touch, creating strong relational connections. Men release oxytocin too, especially after intimacy, but in smaller amounts. This explains why women often crave affection and cuddling beyond physical intimacy. Their brain chemistry demands it. Stress hormones like cortisol also differ between the sexes. Under stress, men's testosterone may drive aggression or withdrawal, while women's hormonal mix makes them seek comfort through connection and conversation. These natural responses can either strengthen or break a relationship, depending on how couples handle them. The authors stress that understanding hormones isn't about excusing bad behavior, but about fostering patience and empathy. When couples realize that chemical fluctuations affect moods and reactions, they can approach conflict with compassion instead of judgment. Key points: testosterone drives male competitiveness, energy, and sex drive. Estrogen and progesterone influence female moods, cycles, and energy. Hormonal fluctuations explain mood swings and stress responses. Oxytocin, bonding hormone, makes women more relationship-focused. Understanding hormones builds empathy in relationships. Bible verses: I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Colossians 3:19. Be kind and compassionate to one another. Ephesians 4:32. Practical application. Husbands, be patient during your wife's hormonal cycle. Don't dismiss her feelings as moodiness. Wives, Understand that your husband's quietness or irritation may be linked to stress or testosterone drops. Both learn each other's cycles and rhythms and adjust communication during sensitive times. Use touch, prayer, and kindness as tools to ease tension when hormones flare. Call to action. Take a moment this week to notice how hormones affect your moods and reactions, and choose patience instead of conflict. If this chapter helped you understand the hidden forces shaping relationships, like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and comment below one thing you've learned about how hormones affect daily life. Chapter 8 Summary. Boys will be boys, but not always. Why do people often excuse a man's behavior with the phrase, well, boys will be boys? Is it really true that men are just naturally aggressive, competitive, or driven by sexual urges? This chapter challenges that assumption and reveals that while male instincts are powerful, men are not slaves to them. They can choose better. The authors begin by unpacking the role of testosterone, the hormone that fuels much of male competitiveness, risk-taking, and sexual drive. From a biological standpoint, men are wired to seek out competition, pursue women, and take risks. This wiring goes back to their evolutionary role as hunters and protectors. But here's the twist. Biology explains tendencies, not destiny. Men can rise above their impulses. The phrase boys will be boys is often used to excuse reckless or irresponsible behavior. But the authors argue that this mindset creates more harm than good. While it's true that men think about sex more often, tend to be visually stimulated, and may act more impulsively, maturity means learning self-control. A man who hides behind biology to excuse infidelity or irresponsibility is ignoring his higher potential. Interestingly, the chapter also shows how culture amplifies biology. In some societies, men are encouraged to boast about conquests or aggression, while women are shamed for the same. Yet in healthier environments, men are taught that masculinity includes discipline, respect, and faithfulness. This reveals that while hormones push, values and choices guide. Another point raised is that not all men fit the stereotype. Some are naturally gentle, nurturing, and emotionally open. Others may not have the same high sex drive or competitive streak. The authors stress that it's unfair to box men into one rigid category. Men, like women, are diverse, and reducing them to boys will be boys oversimplifies their identity. The main takeaway is clear. Men have powerful instincts, but with understanding, discipline, and love, they can redirect them positively. Whether in marriage, fatherhood, or faith, true strength is not giving into impulses, but mastering them. Key points. Testosterone drives many male traits, but it doesn't control destiny. The phrase boys will be boys often excuses poor behavior. Men must take responsibility for choices, not hide behind biology. Masculinity should include discipline, faithfulness, and respect. Not all men fit stereotypes. Individuality matters. Bible verses. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Proverbs 25:28. Be on your guard. Stand firm in the faith. Be courageous. Be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Flee from sexual immorality. 1 Corinthians 6:18. Practical application. Men, don't excuse weakness by saying, that's just how men are. Choose self-control. Women, don't box all men into negative stereotypes. Encourage growth and individuality. Parents, teach boys that strength means discipline, not recklessness. In relationships, replace excuses with accountability and encouragement. Call to action. Reflect on this. Have you ever used boys will be boys as an excuse for yourself or someone else? It's time to aim higher. If this chapter challenged your perspective, like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and share in the comments one area where men can rise above stereotypes. Chapter 9 Summary. Men, Women, and Sex. Why is it that men seem to think about sex so often, while women sometimes see it as the result of love instead of the starting point? Why does intimacy become a battleground in many marriages? This chapter tackles one of the most sensitive yet central differences between men and women: sex. The authors begin by pointing out the raw reality. Men are usually more sexually driven than women, and it's not just cultural conditioning, it's biological. Testosterone fuels men's desire and makes them think about sex frequently, often multiple times a day. Women's sexual desire, on the other hand, is more influenced by cycles, emotions, and relationship quality. For many women, sex is an extension of love, while for men, sex is often the doorway to feeling loved. This difference creates one of the most common relationship frustrations. Men may feel unloved when intimacy is withheld, while women may feel used if intimacy happens without emotional connection. Both sides want the same thing, love and closeness, but they come at it from opposite directions. The chapter also explores foreplay and emotional connection. For men, desire can be almost immediate. For women, intimacy often begins long before the bedroom, through affection, kind words, listening, and bonding. This explains why many women are hurt when men expect quick physical intimacy without emotional preparation. Interestingly, the authors emphasize that both sexes need to understand the other's perspective. Men need to realize that for women, sex is not just physical, but emotional, requiring trust and closeness. Women need to see that men's sexual need is not just lust, but a God-given drive for bonding and reassurance of love. The chapter also addresses cultural taboos and double standards. In many societies, men are celebrated for sexual activity, while women are shamed. The authors argue that this double standard damages both sides. It pressures men into proving themselves sexually, while making women feel guilty for natural desires. Finally, the chapter makes a strong case. Healthy sexual relationships are built on empathy, communication, and mutual respect. Sex should not be used as a weapon, a bargaining chip, or a duty, but as a gift that strengthens intimacy. When both partners learn to give and not just demand, sex becomes a source of joy, healing, and unity. Key points. Men's sexual drive is stronger and more constant, fueled by testosterone. Women's sexual desire is influenced by emotions, cycles, and connection. Men often see sex as a path to love. Women see it as a result of love. Foreplay and emotional intimacy are critical for women. A healthy sexual relationship requires empathy, respect, and giving. Bible verses. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. 1 Corinthians 7:3. Do not deprive one another except by mutual consent. 1 Corinthians 7:5. Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled. Hebrews 13:4. Practical application. Husbands, invest in emotional intimacy before seeking physical intimacy. Wives, recognize that your husband's need for sex is also a need for love and reassurance. Both, communicate openly about needs and expectations instead of staying silent. Never use sex as punishment or manipulation. Treat it as God's gift for unity. Call to action. Take time this week to talk openly with your spouse about what intimacy means to you. One honest conversation can heal years of misunderstanding. And if this chapter gave you new insights, like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel and comment below. Do you see intimacy more as a pathway to love or a result of love? Let's go into Chapter 10, Marriage, Love, and Romance. Why does romance often fade after the wedding? Why do many couples start with fireworks of love, only to end up in routine, frustration, or even distance? Have you ever wondered why men and women can mean the same thing when they say "I love you," yet express it in totally different ways? This chapter shines a light on the mysteries of marriage, love, and romance. The authors begin by showing how men and women view marriage through different lenses. For many men, marriage is often about commitment and responsibility. Once they've chosen their partner, they feel secure in their love and may not see the need to constantly reaffirm it. Women, however, often see marriage as a journey of continual reassurance. For them, love must be expressed daily through words, affection, and little acts of romance. This mismatch often frustrates couples. A husband may think, "I told her I loved her when we married, and nothing has changed." But the wife may think, "If he loves me, why doesn't he show it or say it more often?" Both love each other, but they express it differently. Romance is another battlefield. Women often define romance as thoughtful gestures, flowers, notes, candlelight dinners, listening with full attention. Men, however, may interpret romance more physically, seeing intimacy as the ultimate proof of love. This explains why women may feel neglected if romance is absent, while men feel unloved if sex is withheld. The chapter also highlights how modern pressures strain marriage. Work stress, financial burdens, and parenting challenges often push romance to the background. Yet the authors argue that romance isn't a luxury, it's the lifeblood of marriage. Without consistent effort, love can grow cold. Another key insight is that love languages differ. Some men show love by providing, fixing things, or working hard. Women may long for verbal expressions, affection, or quality time. When couples don't recognize each other's love language, they can miss each other's efforts completely. The authors conclude with a challenge. Successful marriages don't happen by accident. Love must be nurtured, romance must be intentional, and both partners must learn to give in ways the other understands. When love is both spoken and demonstrated, marriage can remain vibrant for life. Key points. Men often see marriage as a commitment sealed once. Women see it as ongoing reassurance. Romance means different things to men, often physical, and women, emotional gestures. Daily expressions of love keep marriages alive. Love languages differ. Understanding them prevents frustration. Successful marriages require intentional effort, not assumptions. Bible verses. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Ephesians 5 verse 25. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. 1 Peter 4:8. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Proverbs 3:3. Practical application. Husbands, don't assume your wife just knows. Say and show your love daily. Wives, recognize the ways your husband tries to express love, even if it's different from your expectations. Schedule romance. Plan date nights, surprises, and moments of affection. Learn your partner's love language and practice it consistently. Call to action. This week, do one intentional act of romance for your spouse, whether it's a note, a gift, or just listening fully. Then share in the comments how it went. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and keep following as we continue to build marriages and faith together. Let's now go into chapter 11, Towards a Different Future. What if men and women stopped fighting over their differences and started embracing them? What if instead of trying to make the other person think or act like us, we learn to see differences as strengths? This chapter challenges us to imagine a different future, one where men and women live, love, and work together with mutual understanding. The authors begin by admitting the obvious. For centuries, men and women have struggled to understand one another. From domestic quarrels to workplace conflicts, our differences have created more heat than light. But science and awareness now give us a chance to change the story. Instead of pretending men and women are identical or dividing them into better and worse, the future lies in partnership. The chapter emphasizes that men and women are not competing species. We are complementary halves of humanity. Men bring focus, drive, and spatial skills. Women bring intuition, empathy, and multitasking ability. When used together, these strengths cover each other's weaknesses. Instead of clashing, couples and communities can thrive by valuing diversity. Education plays a big role in shaping this future. Children should grow up knowing that differences between the sexes are real, but they are gifts, not handicaps. Boys can be taught empathy and communication, while girls can be encouraged in confidence and logic. By training both to appreciate the other, we can raise a generation that cooperates instead of competes. The workplace is another arena of transformation. Instead of forcing women into male-dominated molds or dismissing men's unique approaches, organizations can design teams that balance strengths. For example, women often excel in relationship building and crisis management, while men may excel in strategy or technical problem solving. Together, they create well-rounded solutions. The authors also warn, the greatest danger to the future is ignoring these truths. When couples expect the opposite sex to think the same way, disappointment breeds resentment. But when we accept reality, that men and women are wired differently, compassion and patience grow. Ultimately, the vision is simple but profound. If we stop trying to erase differences and start appreciating them, families, marriages, and societies will flourish. The future doesn't have to repeat the past. It can be brighter if we walk in understanding. Key points. The future depends on embracing, not erasing, gender differences. Men and women are complementary, not competitors. Education should teach appreciation of differences from childhood. Workplaces and marriages thrive when diversity of strengths is valued. Compassion grows when we accept reality instead of denying it. Bible verses. Two are better than one. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Psalm 133:1. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Ephesians 5:21. Practical application. Couples, replace "why can't you be more like me" with "thank God you're not like me." Parents, raise children to value both masculine and feminine strengths. Leaders, build diverse teams where men's and women's strengths complement each other. Practice daily empathy. When frustrated by differences, pause and ask, how might God have wired them to see this differently? Call to action. Take a moment today to celebrate one strength in the opposite sex that you've overlooked. Gratitude changes perspective. And if this chapter inspired you to imagine a brighter future for relationships, like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel and comment one strength you admire in your spouse, friend, or coworker of the opposite sex. Let's wrap it up strong with the conclusion of the book, Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. This is where all the lessons tie together into a bigger vision of understanding, patience, and harmony. Have you ever wondered if men and women will ever truly understand each other? After reading through all the science, stories, and humor in this book, one thing becomes clear. We may never erase the differences, but we can learn to celebrate them. The authors close the book by reminding us of a foundational truth. Men and women were never designed to be identical. From the womb to adulthood, our brains, hormones, and instincts shape us in unique ways. Men bring focus, drive, and strength. Women bring empathy, connection, and intuition. These differences are not accidents. They are part of a bigger design. But here's the challenge. Instead of seeing these differences as gifts, too many couples and societies treat them as problems. Men complain, women talk too much. Women complain, men don't listen. Men are accused of being obsessed with sex, women of being over-emotional. Left unchecked, these complaints turn into resentment, which tears relationships apart. The future, however, can look different. By understanding these differences, we can build marriages, friendships, and workplaces where strengths balance weaknesses. When a husband realizes his wife needs emotional connection before physical intimacy, love deepens. When a wife understands her husband's need for silence and focus, conflict eases. When colleagues value diverse ways of thinking, productivity rises. The conclusion also reminds us that humor goes a long way. Instead of turning every difference into a battle, couples can learn to laugh at their quirks, the toilet seat wars, the lost while driving jokes, the endless shopping trips. Laughter turns frustration into bonding. Most importantly, the authors stress that relationships thrive when love and respect take center stage. Men and women will never think exactly alike, but that's not the goal. The goal is unity in diversity, a partnership where each person's uniqueness is honored. In the end, the book doesn't promise a world where men suddenly become great listeners or women suddenly stop caring about details. Instead, gives us the tools to stop demanding sameness and start building harmony. That is the pathway to lasting love and peace in marriage, family, and society. Key points. Men and women will never be the same, and that's the beauty of it. Differences are not flaws, but gifts that complement each other. Humor and patience can turn conflicts into connection. Relationships thrive on love, respect, and acceptance. Unity doesn't mean sameness, it means harmony in diversity. Bible verses. Male and female, he created them and he blessed them. Genesis 5:2. Love is patient, love is kind, it is not self-seeking. 1 Corinthians 13:4-5. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Ephesians 4:3. Practical application. Choose appreciation over criticism. Thank your partner for what they bring to the relationship. Use humor to diffuse tension when differences clash. Focus on building unity, not on erasing uniqueness. End each day with gratitude for at least one quality in your spouse or friend. Call to action. As we close this book journey, remember, men and women are different by design, but together they are stronger. Let's celebrate, not fight, those differences. If this series has blessed you, like this video, subscribe to Faith Builder channel, and comment below. What's one lesson from this book that has changed how you see relationships?